What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We're super excited, super pumped to be out camping in the woods and testing out two new fun products from STOKE VOLTAICS. One is a fully electronic cooking kettle. The other one is a multi-function flashlight. This cooking kettle may be a game changer for your camping and overlanding cooking setup. So let's get cooking and check this thing out. I would love to introduce you to the Joule fully electric kettle. I know what you're thinking, this looks an awful lot like things that are already available on the market. So what makes this different? Fully electric, requires no propane or alternate fuel sources, so as long as you have a viable power source, you can cook all kinds of things. There's some exciting features here I want to get into, but let's go ahead and check out what you get in the box. Well, in the box, and everything you need is found right here in the kettle, and that's awesome for packability and portability. We'll start off with the lid. The lid's awesome. There's a little recipe in here that we'll get to later, but inside of this is a measuring cup, so you can measure out whatever ingredients you need to cook within the kettle. It's got a vent side and it's got a sip side, so you can sit by the fire, drink a hot chocolate, just really enjoy this thing. The lid's got you covered for that. Within you have a power cord with a nice Velcro strap to keep it all organized, no big power brick or anything like that. Everything's found within the bottom of the kettle itself. Really nice. You've got your basic instruction booklet with a really basic popcorn recipe in there. We'll get to that towards the end. And then who doesn't love stickers? On the outside of this, you're gonna find a really nice soft touch neoprene liner. It's gonna keep your hands protected from the hot contents inside. It's got a fun handle that you can slide your hand through to support it, a D-ring if you wanted to clip it to something. This liner comes off so you can keep your unit nice and clean. Down here is the brains of the kettle. You get your power switch, some multi-function switches down here. That's gonna induce each different cooking mode that you might use and need, and we'll talk about those as we go through them. On the back here, we have a really nice waterproof and dustproof cover protecting our power outlet. And that's gonna be the only exposed power outlet in the whole unit itself. And like any electronics, you probably don't want to submerge it when you wash it. So just be mindful of that while you're cleaning. All right, so for our first baseline test, we're just gonna fill it up with water, no ingredients, and then we're gonna see how much power it pulls from the power bank, how long it takes to boil. And we have these handy fill lines on the inside so we can measure and repeat experiments if we have to, but it's also gonna help you cook and bake with this item. We're filled up to the max line. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but that's 16 ounces. So if you're tracking how much this can hold, it's 16 ounces. All right, we're gonna get this thing all hooked up and kicked off, and we're gonna see how long it takes to boil. Hey, a watch pot never boils. Not bad for an initial test. We came to about a simmer at about 4 minutes and 30 seconds. A rolling boil about 720. Let's talk about some things here. We didn't have the lid on because I wanted you to see the boil, obviously. That let some of the heat escape, might have affected some of our boil times itself. The other thing is this was rated for 500 watts. We were only pulling about 448 to 453. I don't know if that 50 watts is gonna make a huge difference on how quickly the water comes to a boil or not, but we were pulling about 448. It's pretty thirsty when it comes to power wise, so we are lucky we're running the Zero Breeze Elect Hive 2500 watt hour power bank, so we can cook with this thing multiple meals throughout the day. The smaller power banks are gonna suffer, so something to think about. But what I really thought was pretty cool about this is once it came to a rolling boil, about 7 minutes and 20 seconds, it turned itself off. It recognized that it reached the temperature it needed to, and it kicked itself down to the lower temperature to keep it warm, but it stopped it from boiling. So that's pretty cool for drink mode. That's the mode that we were in. Like I said, there's a drink and eat and a popcorn mode down here in the switch, and I keep telling you and I keep promising that we're gonna get to each one of these modes as we go, but the drink mode is gonna be the one that is gonna boil your water the fastest. It's gonna spike up to about 500 watts and it's gonna hold that wattage so you get a nice hot temperature within the hot plate of the kettle itself. And the water was just boiling like you saw, but I can reach over here, I can touch it. The insulated outside works really, really well. If this was a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, I could go sit by the fire and enjoy this and not burn my hands. But if it's cold out, it will keep your hands kind of warm. So it's an added bonus they don't advertise. So let's see what else we can do with this awesome kettle. Now that we boiled our water, the only logical thing that I can think to do is to make some delicious tea. and some coffee. So we just showcased drink mode. What that means basically is the system was at 500 watts the entire time, brought your water or your drink up to a rolling boil as quickly as possible. We're gonna switch over into the second function out of the three, into eat mode. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna bring your system up to 500 watts as quickly as possible, but then it's gonna quickly drop down to about 240 watts, so your food is more of a temperature that you like to eat. Nobody likes to put scalding food in their mouth and burn the roof of their mouth. So we're gonna go ahead and try out cooking some soup in the kettle and see how long that takes and see what that's like. But I'm pretty excited about how this is looking so far. Appetizing. So about 3 minutes in, and I can already hear the soup kind of boiling a little bit. It feels warm to the touch. I'm excited because I think we're almost ready to eat this thing. Pretty quick, pretty tasty. So we just watched on the power bank us go from 450 watts down to 211. So we made that shift from that initial heat up down to that more edible temperature. So now the soup is just about ready to eat whenever you're ready and whenever you're comfortable with the temperature. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna dig in. A hot dinner in about 4.5 minutes. What more could you want? Now we're moving on to what I think is one of the coolest features of this and something I haven't seen before. So if it's out there, I haven't seen it. But we're gonna make some popcorn within the kettle itself. So our third function says pop. It's what it's designed for. And like I told you before, the lid doubles as a measuring cup. So the first thing that we're gonna do is put our dry kernels on the top of the lid itself, and that is gonna be the measuring amount for the kernels that are gonna go into the kettle. And now the other thing that we have to do is fill this raised section that you'll find on your lid full of butter or oil. And that's how you're gonna know that you have enough. That would be enough. Dump that in. Throw that lid on. Make sure you're on pop function. Press your pop button. While we're waiting for this bad boy to start popping the popcorn, I just want to tell you that popcorn on a camping trip is an OVERLANDeRoos family tradition. So to be able to have another option to make, whether it be Jiffy Pop or in the kettle here for a snack for the girls, is primo. And I think we're going to get the most use out of that function alone. I'm just really excited to start hearing this thing pop. Dang it, we forgot to feed Piper. All right, so we're gonna hit some mac and cheese in this thing. Normally you would bring your water to a boil and then add the pasta. This time, because it does use energy, we're thinking energy conservation as we go. We're gonna add the pasta, let it come to a boil with the pasta already in the water, and I think that's gonna work out the best for us. Obviously, we're not gonna be able to do the whole box, but we should be able to do enough to get Piper well fed and satiated before bed. We added about half the box. We're gonna utilize drink mode on this one because that's gonna bring it to a boil and hold it at a boil. I think that's gonna work the best. This time we're gonna use the lid, see if we can't bring this to a boil a little faster. Hey, while this is boiling, I just wanna bring up the fact that we've been cooking like non-stop with this thing. And at least on the Zero Breeze Elect Hive unit, we've only come down to about 93%. So we've only used about 8% of our battery bank. We've cooked probably 4 or 5 meals at this point. This is a sustainable method for cooking some meals for you and your family down the trail. This will also work on an EB3A or a Blue Eddy, like I said, but that will take a bigger hit. If you got a dual battery system or even a inverter in your vehicle, and if you're feeling brave, you could even make hot coffee in your truck on the side of the trail in inclement weather at your own risk. We didn't tell you to do that. It might be a little crazy, but there's no open flame here. It's just an electric kettle. Really cool features associated with this thing. So we're gonna go ahead and let this mac and cheese come to a boil. I'm not gonna bore you with that. You've seen water boil before. Well, it's time to strain the pasta from the Joule electric kettle itself. And really, they've thought of everything. On the lid, they have a whole straining section right here. So as long as you put the lid on and support it, you can use the lid to strain the water from your pasta, and then you'll have dry pasta to add your cheese to, which will make Piper super happy. I was just thinking of, you know, who would this kettle be for and who would it not be for? I think for any overlander or vehicle-based adventure, I think this kettle would be perfect for. Your backpackers, however, maybe not so much. My friends in RVs or sailboats, this might be an awesome option. I just think it would be hard to carry a kettle in a backpack and a power source for it in a way that it would be sustainable. So I think as long as you're in a vehicle or at a campsite with a dedicated electrical power, I think that might be the best option to use something like this. And man, we're just really excited. The more we use it, the more I can think of ways that I would use it to cook my meals, or places that I think that this would come in really handy. All right, we've had our delicious dinner. We're not big s'more people in the OVERLANDeRoos family, but we are chocolate fondue people. So we're gonna go ahead and kick this off and make some chocolate fondue inside the Joule electric kettle. See how this goes. I'm thinking it's gonna be awesome. I'm pretty excited. We have our charcuterie board of things that we're gonna dip in there over here on the side. A little bit like s'mores. So let's go ahead and put our chocolate in here. We're gonna use the eat mode for this one. We don't wanna bring the chocolate to a boil. We just wanna melt it down. I'm gonna stir it as it melts and try to get this thing to not burn on the bottom of the Joule electric kettle. There's no recipe for this. We're just kind of winging it and seeing how it goes, but I guess pretty high hopes for this. All right, so to wrap it up, we're all pretty well fed at this point, but I just wanted to show you guys some of the examples of things that you can make within your Joule electric kettle. As you can see, these are the things that we have inside of our pantry when we go camping typically, and these will all work inside the kettle as well. The world is your oyster. Use your imagination, come up with some awesome, delicious meals. As far as general build quality and whether or not I think it's worth the $99 that they're asking for it right now, I do. I think that this is gonna be a great addition to our Overland pantry kit. It's just so many options. It heats things up pretty quickly. This will be a great way to make coffee in the morning or make mac and cheese for Piper on the trail. Even on the trail side, we often struggle quite a bit with giving Piper cold mac and cheese because she loves mac and cheese. One of the only things she'll eat. But this opens up an opportunity for us to give her some more mac and cheese as a quick trail stop on the side of the trail. I'm excited to have this. I think overall the build quality is sturdy and good. It heats up things relatively quickly. The only downside that it is power hungry in certain modes, right? So your drink mode is gonna pull 500 watts. If you're running this off like the Blue Eddy EB3A, that's gonna take a pretty big hit to your power bank. It will run it, the smaller banks will run it. But if you don't have a way to quickly recharge that, you're gonna be limited to a couple meals out of this before you have a dead power bank. The bigger power banks can handle it just fine. We're ranging anywhere from 500 watts down to 160 watts depending on the mode. The popcorn mode is the lowest. The build quality is great. The insulating outer cover works really, really well. This seems sturdy enough that I could just go sit by the campfire, eat my meal, drink my coffee, and just have a really enjoyable meal. Whereas before I had to bring out all the camp stoves and the propane and things like that. Great option. I'm excited to have it. I think that you guys would be excited to have it too. I reached out to STOKE VOLTAICS and asked for a discount for you guys. So if you use the code OVERLANDeRoos10, and I'll link it in the description below, that'll save you 10% off of the $99 asking price. I think it's a great deal. So go ahead, follow the link, and grab yourself one as well.